So if you want to win your 2022 Fantasy Football League, it's probably safe to assume that you're going to have to hit big time on at least one of your later round picks in this year's draft. It's pretty dang hard to win a league just based off of early round draft strategy. So these late round players are going to be extremely important. So today what we're talking through are 5 later round wide receivers in round 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 that I am super excited about. I think these guys have awesome upside, and I think they're going to contribute a lot to lineups this year again because the ceiling for these players is so high. There's a legitimate case to be made that these guys could potentially see top 12 play this year or potentially be high-end wide receiver twos. So there's a lot of stuff I like about this group. Before we dive into today's video, I want to invite you guys to drop down, click that like button, and subscribe to the SFS channel here. We're trying to help out as many people as possible this season, grow our community, and again, help you guys win and dominate your leagues for this season. I want to give a huge shout out to you guys. You've been doing pretty good numbers on the draft guide here the last couple of weeks. Shout out to all of you guys that went over to sizzlefantasy.com, signed up for the draft guide. Again, you can get access to that for just $5 a month. There's not many draft guides out there you can get for that cheap, or you guys can get access to them through the entire season up until the Monday after the Super Bowl by using code SFS on Underdog Fantasy. When you use code SFS on Underdog, they're going to give you a 100% deposit match bonus. So if you put $100 in, you're going to get $200 to play with, and the draft guide's free. I check in with my man Sam Berman over there at Underdog Fantasy every single Friday, and he gives me the email addresses for me to set up you guys with accounts and send you all of your login credentials and information. So go check that stuff out again, you guys. Underdog Fantasy, we've got over 130 draft guide profiles live on the site right now, over 500 pages of content for you guys to access, and again, code SFS. It only takes $10 to deposit and get those draft guides free. You'll get $20 to play with, or you can check them out for $5 a month. And again, all that stuff is live and accessible. The entire website gets unlocked with your SFS Gold membership. Also, one more quick note, you guys, make sure to drop down in the description of today's video and check out some of the links we've got down there. I'm trying to grow on some other platforms right now, TikTok being one of those, and I'm posting a player profile every single day through the rest of the summer, talking through some draft strategy and where I like certain players or don't like them based off of ADP at this point in time. All right, that was a lot of talking, you guys. Again, make sure to drop down, click that subscribe button. Let's jump into our first player. All right, again, you guys, thanks so much for the support as of late. I appreciate the heck out of each and every single one of you guys watching today's video. The first player I want to talk about in the 6th round, now technically his ADP in 12-team format still places him in the top of the 7th round. This being Drake London, though, at the 73.1 overall pick via Underdog's Best Ball ADP, which I personally think is the best in the game. There's no more accurate tool out there to measure a player's draft value than Underdog because of the fact that every single draft that they do has some skin in the game. There's money on the line, and there are players competing for real prizes in every single league that they host on their platform. So all the more reason to go check that out. You can host your league with your buddies on there this season, and the best part about it is Best Ball. You don't have to set your lineups every week, so if you're a super busy person, if you're that guy in your league that constantly forgets to set your lineup every week, they've got you covered because the best guy in your lineup is going to be put forth every single week. But Drake London is actually the guy who yesterday's TikTok content about was for the draft profile I was talking about in the intro. I think Drake London is absolutely going to crush it this year. The more I think about this Atlanta Falcons situation, the more positives, the more upside, the more ceiling I can see taking place in this situation. Now, at first, I didn't like it because to me, Marcus Mariota is an average at best passing quarterback. If we're being realistic with ourselves here, he's probably a below average passer. However, Drake London is not going to need to be utilized downfield at a high level in order to be excessively productive this year. There is no reason why Drake London can't have 130 targets in this offense in his rookie season. Why do I say that? That's something that typically does not happen for a rookie wide receiver. The draft capital doesn't lie, baby. This guy was the 8th overall pick in the draft for a reason. They're going to implement him into their offense day one, and they are going to use him at an excessively high rate week in and week out. There's only 2, maybe 3 legitimate options in this offense, if you ask me. It starts with Kyle Pitts, it quickly moves to Drake London, and then you've kind of got that blurred line where Cordero Patterson is some sort of an offensive weapon. Is he a running back? Is he a receiver? Technically, fantasy platforms this year are classifying him as a running back, but he'll be lined up all over the field. But he's kind of a variable presence in this offense, if you will. This team needs Drake London to be a significant threat in the passing game, and the reason he can do so is because of the damage I think he can do underneath. If they just get him the football at a high volume of times and at a high rate on a week-to-week basis this season, he's going to do a lot of really great things. One of my least favorite things about Drake London is his lack of game-breaking explosive speed and the lack of separation I see on downfield targets. But again, when I started to project his use for this team this season, I see a lot of short and intermediate route usage for him this year. And when he catches the football, no matter if it's at the line of scrimmage, 5 yards downfield, 10 yards downfield, or maybe he's winning a 50-50 ball because he does have elite 6'4" frame and 215-pound size, a great wingspan to be able to go up and high point those footballs. He is a load to tackle in open space. So if he gets that football, if he gets out in space, that size makes him really tough for DBs to bring down, and he's a physical runner after the catch. So there's a lot of stuff to like here. Again, the reason I'm classifying him as my 6th round target at the wide receiver position is because of the fact that I'm seeing him go more and more frequently on Underdog in the drafts that I'm doing in the middle to even early 6th round of leagues. So his ADP is definitely one that I expect to be trending up here as we progress through the summer. Again, there's a lot of stuff to like about Drake London here and a lot of reasons to be insanely optimistic about him this season. Again, there's a ton of talent here. He's only turning 21 in late July of this summer, so this is a very young player with a very, very high ceiling, and I think the sky's the limit for him this year. There is the potential. If he sees 130, 135 plus targets this year, if his red zone productivity is high enough, he could crack the top 12 this year and be that breakout wide receiver 1 from this rookie class. I think he has a legit shot to finish as the rookie wide receiver 1 from this 2022 class for redraft leagues this season. Now, Adam Thielen here at the 70.7 pick. Yes, his ADP is a little bit higher than Drake London's, but again, the trend that I'm seeing is that Drake is starting to go earlier and earlier in drafts. Thielen is the guy for me in the 7th round that I'm targeting. I think he has significant upside to outproduce his ADP right now. There was a point in time, not too long ago, this seems crazy because this was back in May when I first started doing drafts for the 2022 season, that his ADP was up there with Gabe Davis, but Gabe Davis has continued to see his ADP surge. Whether that's warranted or not is a conversation and a discussion for another time, aka tomorrow's video. So subscribe, turn the bell on, make sure you're not late for that content. But Adam Thielen is such a discounted commodity right now. I can't believe it. For a guy that has a 21% target share in a highly capable NFL offense, he absolutely has what it takes to, again, in his own right, be a top 12 fantasy wide receiver. Why is that? He's the number 2 receiver in his offense. He's not going to surpass Justin Jefferson. We already know these things. However, what Thielen brings to the table is such an elite repertoire of red zone route running skills that his TD ceiling is insanely high. This is a guy who is easily, if he's healthy, if he doesn't get banged up, if he doesn't miss games, which is something that he gets a bad rap for, which I don't think is necessarily warranted, he could crack double-digit TDs on a year-to-year basis with ease. I mean, this is, again, one of the most savvy route runners I've seen. He has a phenomenal body awareness and ability to make awkward catches, fantastic hands, a great possession wide receiver, and Kirk Cousins trusts him, which is a bigger deal than it sounds like, but Kirk is more than willing to throw him the football in the red zone, which is one of the reasons that Justin Jefferson had just 7 receiving touchdowns, because Adam Thielen is eating up such a high percentage of that workload in that area of the field. So do not overlook Adam Thielen here this season. There's a lot of value to be had here. Again, he's had back-to-back double-digit touchdown seasons. It could be 3 straight here. He was 23rd in red zone targets despite playing just 13 games this past season. And he's been a top 14 fantasy asset in points per game the last 2 years. So he's right on the cusp of that wide receiver 1 territory. Again, if he doesn't miss 4 games this year, I think he's a top 12 asset. The red zone utility is obviously where that comes from. And you finally got an offensive-minded coach in Kevin O'Connell taking the reins over in Minnesota's offense. Now, into the 8th round here, I've got Christian Kirk. His underdog ADP is 88.1 overall. This is a guy who ideally is not the perfect wide receiver 1 fit for an NFL team. He is probably not talented enough to be considered a top 32 wide receiver in the NFL. However, he is still a very good player. He's still a very capable athlete, and he's still someone that can do a lot of damage if given enough work. And this is a Jags team that's had the back-to-back number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. It's going to still have a lot of negative game scripts this season. What does that mean? Negative game scripts mean you're trailing late in contests or largely throughout the entire thing. and your team is passing the football at a high rate, trying to catch up to the opposition, trying to make a run at being able to get back in the game. What does this mean for Christian Kirk, who has positioned himself with a massive contract? Not much of it is guaranteed, but still, he is making the top dollar at that wide receiver position. He is in line to see the lion's share of that target share. Now, you've got guys like Laviska Shenault. You've got a veteran like Marvin Jones. Laviska being a super high upside guy in the slot who I think could finally break out here this season. But Kirk is the guy who we actually saw be the number one most productive receiver for the Arizona Cardinals offense in the 2021 season. Yes, it was not DeAndre Hopkins. A combination of missed games, being dinged up, and inconsistencies created a situation where Christian Kirk actually did score more fantasy points last year. Kirk has what it takes to produce, not super efficiently, but again, if he gets 130, heck, even 140 targets with Trevor Lawrence ripping the football around the field, we saw flashes of that elite potential from the quarterback position there. There is a legit shot that Kirk could finish as a top 15 wide receiver. I think that if he's healthy and this team projects as we expect them to, he's easily a top 20 guy, and getting him at a significantly good draft value here again if he stays healthy. So 88.1 overall is perfect territory for me. Again, he's not the ideal NFL wide receiver one for an NFL franchise, but volume is key at the end of the day. Volume is king, and that's what we're centering this analysis around here. Kadarius Toney, now this goes to a bit more of the projection side of things, liking the player and the prospect, not necessarily loving the situation, but there is a lot of upside here. Kadarius Toney was a first-round pick just one season ago. Its underdog ADP is 90.5 overall. He flashed such elite electricity after the catch and such capability of being a dynamic playmaker last year that's what gets me really excited about his value for fantasy leagues in the 2022 season. Now, Toney does have the issue of Daniel Jones as his quarterback. They've got Sterling Shepard still, Kenny Galladay's in this offense, Darius Slayton. They just drafted Wan'Dale Robinson in the second round. However, Toney is the highest draft capital investment at that wide receiver position. Now, there were all these rumors that they were upset, they were trading or looking to trade him because he didn't show up to voluntary OTAs or minicamp, whatever it is. That's fine with me. If you're the most talented player in the room, the offensive room is, Brian Dable and company are going to draw up plays for him to touch the rock and get him out in space. Toney had some really great efficiency numbers last season, and despite the fact that, his number one issue, I would say, is that he was nicked and dinged. He was frequently leaving contests early. He only played in 10 games last year, so he missed 7 of them. The biggest number that stood out to me last year was his target rate. Not his target share, which is your overall percentage of, your piece of the pie in the Giants offense. Target rate is your piece of the pie per routes run. So for a guy that missed 7 games, that target rate is going to be a lot more realistic and give a lot better of a picture of what he meant to this offense, because it's only going to categorize him for contests in which he was a part of the lineup for this team. So here we go. 28.9% was the target rate for Kadarius Toney. Again, that's targets per route run. So you're talking about a guy who has an elite level share of this offense when he's suiting up and playing games for this football team. Additionally, he had a 45% slot snap rate, that ranked 17th in the NFL. If you've watched the channel here, if this is not your first time watching a video, if it is, please subscribe, like today's video. We're super happy to have you here, and please feel free to drop your comments and your questions down in the comment section below. I'm happy to get back to you guys as soon as I can and help you guys win your leagues this year. I love snaps and opportunities for receivers lined up in the slot. Why do I love that? When you line a receiver up in the slot, especially a very good route runner or someone with elite levels of athleticism, you give them the opportunity to run routes easily, in breaking or out breaking, thus giving them a chance to separate more easily and get cleaner releases off the line of scrimmage. You see guys like Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, all thrive and kill defenses lining up in the slot. It creates a matchup nightmare, and it creates a significant mismatch in the favor of the offense. Kadarius Toney is not that level of a player yet. However, what he is an insanely twitchy and versatile, dynamic athlete who, if you get blockers out in space for him, is going to make the defense pay. Hence why he was number 1 in juke rate last year, aka one of the most elusive receivers in the National Football League. He was also, I believe, I can't read my handwriting here perfectly, but I believe it says he's 11th in yards per route run. So that obviously places him in the top 12. A very, very good statistical category. Again, I apologize. Someone will have to check my numbers on that there, but my handwriting was absolutely atrocious for that part. So apologies. The moral of the story here, the message you need to take away: Kadarius Toney is a talented playmaker in an offense that is looking for more players to make plays. And when he's getting almost 29% of the target share in the offense when he's lined up on the field, that is something to be excited about. That is something to not overlook, and a reason why he could have a significant breakout here in the 2022 season. And then Christian Watson, I've talked through him a ton this season. By the way, Toney was our 9th round pick. Our ADP falls down a lot here in the 10th round with Christian Watson. I can't believe his ADP is still 115.8. I feel like he goes earlier than this in almost every single league I play in, but 115.8 is what Underdog is telling us. That is their most updated ADP that I have for you guys here, recording today's video on July the 5th. But the thing here with Christian Watson, it's obvious, it's no secret, he's catching passes from Aaron Rodgers. Now, I want to manage our expectations, because this is a player that if he dominates weeks 1 through 18, you're going to see crack the top 12. It's just going to happen because of the amount of target share available in this Packers offense. He could easily soak up 20%, 23 to 25%, I think, is the upside and ceiling for his rookie season. Maybe he shatters my expectations. Mind you, I'm a Packers fan. I literally am wearing a quarter zip right now with their logo on it. I think that we have to manage our expectations to an extent because, A, Aaron Rodgers tends to favor production over potential. He literally said that with his own mouth this year. Upside is great, but he would rather throw the football to proven commodities. He has to develop trust and chemistry with him, which I love Aaron Rodgers, but might not be the easiest thing to do in the world. And even if it takes him 4 to 6 weeks to break out here, I think down the second half of the season, down the stretch of the year in the fantasy playoffs, you are going to be getting high levels of output from Christian Watson in your fantasy league. So he's a bit of a raw prospect, came from a Division II college football program. It's not like he is from an Alabama blue blood program that's going to spit out a Pro Bowler in his first year. I don't know if that's going to be the case here. But you've got a tall player with an elite athletic profile, ran a 4.36 40-yard dash, and has phenomenal ability to win at the catch point, to win vertically, to eventually, hopefully, run the whole route tree. And he's got one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the game, which you stick the football on that huge frame, you're probably going to make some huge plays happen. So I love the upside here. These are 5 players in the later rounds of your fantasy football leagues that I think could absolutely help you crush it and win your leagues at the end of the year. If you guys enjoyed today's video, if you enjoyed today's video and you've not done so already, make sure to drop down, give today's episode a like, and click that subscribe button. Turn the bell on so you're never late for a fantasy football video. I'll be posting one of these basically every single day of the summer here. We'll be taking some days off on the weekends, but even then I'll still be posting TikToks and Instagram content, so you go check out those 2 platforms. Of course, those can be found in the description of today's video. So thanks so much, you guys. Remember to check out the draft guides on sizzlefantasy.com or use promo code SFS on Underdog Fantasy. The link to join, of course, as always, like everything else, is in the description of today's video. So check that stuff out. Remember code SFS, and I'll get you hooked up with your draft guide for free. Remember, eventually we're going to have our top 300 profiles in there. And we've got over 500 pages of content on the website, which is pretty insane stuff. So go check all that stuff out, you guys. I'll see you next time. Peace out.